What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
another David, the operator, to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support. Here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another David, the operator, to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
Thank you.
friends, we are here live for Chicago finest B-League draft here on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I am Mike Mercado. Thank you so much for making us a part of your evening. It is time for our first ever sports from the couch here on Mercado Airwaves. I'm your host. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. You can follow us everywhere on social media. I'm on Twitter at mmercado2333. Follow me on Instagram at instagram.com/MikeMercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Download us anywhere you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. And of course, a huge shout out to our sponsors at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. I'm very excited to get this thing rolling. We are 15 seconds away from the start of the draft. You are looking at the number 12 pick, Wakanda's Most Wanted. That is a team of Alex and Mike Mercado here on the Mercado Airwaves, Chicago's finest B-League draft. And it is time. Who goes number one in the draft? And the way our league does this is you will see it'll be about a minute 30 of each team. And it looks like Todd. It looks like the number one pick. Let's take a look. And they are flying off the board. Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, 1 and 2. And I actually had a draft already just a few days ago. I actually had the number 12 pick as well, so it seems like I can't get out of that. But David Johnson and Alvin Kamara go 3 and 4. We are now at pick number 5. And just in general, it's going to be a very interesting NFL season, I think. You know, there's a lot of questions. Is Minnesota truly the favorite of the NFC? Can Kirk Cousins take them over the hump? A lot of things that we want to get into. And, of course, if you are missing this or if you're a part of us, thank you so much for joining us on Facebook Live. There you can see everything that we're up to, every new show that we are doing. So some pretty cool stuff. And our first episode of Sports from the Couch. And if you are just joining us, Antonio Brown at 5 and Ezekiel Elliott at 6. A lot of fun stuff that we want to get to. If you've missed anything on the network, we've actually done a few cool episodes. Just this past few hours, we released our Happy Time Murders episode, our review of that is. The good brother Alex is actually on assignment right now, so I was able to just give you my thoughts on that. So please, if you missed it, go back on our Facebook page at Mercado Airwaves, and you can listen to the whole episode right there. We talk about the Cubs getting a brand new network, and that is just so interesting still to this point because it is such, uncharted waters when it comes to the Cubs. Do they have enough content to do this? Do they have enough content to really, how should I put this? Make it worth your while if you're going to spend so much worth money in that. I mean, it's crazy how at this point, excuse me guys for 1 second. It's crazy how at this point it's more expensive to get out of cable than it is not to stay with cable. I mean, I never thought we'd get to that point. But enough rambling. It is our turn. So here's the thing. We have the possibility of Leonard Fournette, Melvin Gordon, Michael Thomas, and Keenan Allen. Well, truth be told, I have Melvin Gordon in one league, so I'm going to go with Melvin Gordon. And I will go with Michael Thomas. Change it up a little bit from our A-League. A-League, we actually went with Melvin Gordon and Leonard Fournette. But you know what? We're going to change this one up just a little bit, see how that goes and if we like it. So now we have at pick 14. Christian McCaffrey went off the board. Very interesting pick right here. Leonard Fournette goes at 15. And you know what? I wanted to go with Leonard Fournette, to be honest with you, but the good brother wanted a running back and a wide receiver at pick 12 and 13. I can understand why he wanted to. In our A-League, if you go back and check us out on Instagram at MikeMercado2333, I posted a picture of our draft board, and I actually picked Melvin Gordon, Leonard Fournette, 12 and 13 in A-League. And I really like that. I thought it was very important to get two starting running backs that were going to be there when it came to later on in the season that were going to get the touches. But I could see where Alex is saying get two of the better players that you can, and that's what we end up doing with Michael Thomas and Melvin Gordon. I like what the Chargers are doing. I think they're a very low-key, underrated team. Obviously, the Saints are going to throw the ball. At some point, the shoe has to drop with Drew Brees, so I do not know when that's going to happen, but at this point, it hasn't, so you go with Michael Thomas, in our opinion, and you rock with it. I'm surprised, too, at this point, we're at pick 19, and A.J. Green is still on the board, Mike Evans is still on the board, Stephon Diggs is still on the board, and Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams as well. I hope each and every one of you guys is enjoying your Thursday night. A lot of Thursday night football. This is the last Thursday for the next few months where we won't have football. So that's always really exciting that we finally get to see every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, some form of football on television or in your local area. And, it's interesting. Recently, there's been a lot of conversation about whether the NFL is going to go to an 18-game season with 2 preseason games. I don't understand this conversation right now, and maybe you guys can chime in on this, whether or not players should be playing through the preseason. For example, the Bears, a lot of the players are inactive the last 2 weeks, and the thinking being is they don't need these 23 snaps. What's the point of risking themselves? It's not going to change what's going to happen in the season. But fact remains, a lot of this offense hasn't played with each other if you're the Chicago Bears. Between Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel, Anthony Miller, Trey Burton, Adam Shaheen, with Mitchell Trubisky. They haven't played a lot with each other. And we're being told that we need to trust in Matt Nagy, which I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. With coming from that Andy Reid tree, and we obviously saw how that worked out for Philadelphia this past year, I definitely think that they're in a weird spot right now because it doesn't quite make sense why we feel it's so hard to change when it comes to sports. And that's, I fall into this thing. I think a lot of players need contact, need practice during the preseason. But maybe this is the way. Maybe this is now the way it's going to go for the next decade, 20 years, 30 years, and we just got to get used to it. And it's so hard for sports fans to do that. Sports fans are not inherently used to change. We don't like it. And it's really hard for us. And you're seeing in the NFL today, whether it's the preseason or the rules and the way it's being officiated. So right now we have some dead time in the draft, and that happens every once in a while, especially for all you wondering, a lot of these are just family members, friends, people we've known for a long time, and they tend to be kind of jerkish sometimes, so you can see people dragging, and really you could go into the smack talk, and you could actually see the smack talk, but we'll try to keep that a little bit more PG for this stream. Obviously, as we do this, we want to give our condolences to the lives lost at that Madden tournament. Some sad stuff a few days ago. So, just sad stuff. Love each other. Take care of each other. All right, as we wait for the 25th pick of the draft to go through, why don't we go ahead and start looking at some of these NFL standings? Why don't we start in the AFC, and we'll go in the AFC East. We have the Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, and Jets. Interesting to see what the Jets are doing after trading Teddy Bridgewater, obviously, with Sam Darnold. Are they the future? Are they really the team that's going to move forward? And, it's so interesting to see, are they... Like, okay, here's the real question. When do the Patriots finally fall off? And how? Because, in quite honest, I haven't seen a reason why you have to you stop picking New England. And there are questions, right? Who's going to get the ball? Health. Obviously, there's drama with Tom Brady and his personal trainer and the team. But at the end of the day, do you trust the Buffalo Bills and their rookie quarterback? Do you trust Ryan Tannehill and the Miami Dolphins? Sam Darnold and the New York Jets? It's a pretty clear-cut division at this point still. And it just seems like it doesn't matter. It's just one of those inevitabilities in sports where during certain eras, no matter what they do, it seems to work out for them. And what's more likely at this point, if you're willing to put money, the mortgage on the line, what's more likely to happen? The Patriots dominate the division for the foreseeable future, or the Jets and Bills found their franchise quarterback? I'll let you make that bet. Why don't we go to the AFC West? The Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Chargers, and the LA Raiders, soon to be the Las Vegas Raiders, Oakland Raiders, all that fun stuff. Here we go. Why don't we think about it this way? Who do you put your money on? Patrick Mahomes, Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr, or whoever the hell is quarterback in Denver? That's honestly what it is. This division, I honestly think, is pretty easy for the Chargers. The Chargers have the best division in that division, have the best defense in that division. The Chiefs are going to be catching up a lot. They might have the most dynamic player in Kareem Hunt. They may have a freak in Tyreek Hill, but the Chargers are just a more complete team for me. The one thing that always keeps me away from the Chargers is that thing you can't put something on, that intangible, which is, can they finish and can they win in December? We haven't seen that before. And that's what's really hard to pick the Chargers. But you know what? I'll pick the Chargers to win this division, especially with that setback that was the Oakland Raiders last year, the Derek Carr injury, and obviously what's happening with Khalil Mack, which we are finding out now is worth, or some are saying that the Raiders are willing to trade for 2 first-round picks. All right, guys, so now we're coming up to my back-to-back picks. And before we had Michael Thomas and Melvin Gordon, I think here we would want to go best available. So if you start looking down here, I think Juju Smith is probably the most reliable at this point. I like Golden Tate, but we'll stay a little bit away from our team, from our old team. So why don't we go ahead, draft Juju Smith-Schuster. And we start looking around, and I don't think we see anything we necessarily like. You start looking down this way, and there might be some players that, like, I don't know, it's LaShawn McCoy. Do you really want to go with that in Buffalo at this point? Melvin Gordon and LaShawn McCoy duo? How about Lamar Miller? Royce Freeman? I do not want to go Alec Collins. I want to stay away from Baltimore. So you know what? Why don't we go ahead? Let's go with... Let's go with Sean McCoy. Let's go Shady. Let's set ourselves up, and we'll move on. Injury or not, we'll go ahead and move on from there. There's a deep wide receiver pool, and we'll just start going that way. How are you guys feeling about your draft team, though? This is always something that we come this season. Everybody thinks they have a championship team. But, in all honesty, this is one of those, leagues of attrition. It's all about who drafted the most players that are going to stay healthy and how long are they going to stay healthy. So continuing on as we get ready to come backwards to our pick, why don't we go back into the NFL standings? We gave away our first 2 divisional picks. We have the New England Patriots coming out of the AFC East and the Los Angeles Chargers coming out of the AFC West. In the AFC North, between the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, Cleveland getting some shine out of Hard Knocks. And with Josh Gordon coming back, Baker Mayfield, they have a nice team. Jarvis Landry, they have a really nice team. And I think they can do some things. The problem is, they're still so many pieces behind. They're still so far behind. And the thing that if I was a Cleveland fan that would upset me the most is that division is not any good. Joe Flacco is a long ways away from winning a Super Bowl. Who is he throwing the ball? Michael Crabtree? John Brown? I mean, it's not the most impressive wide receiver group. Alex Collins running the ball? I don't know. Pittsburgh, obviously, with Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith, and Ben Roethlisberger, a defense that when time and go doesn't show up for certain games. And you saw what happened later on in the season with Baltimore and their comeback in December again. There's interest that team is one of those where, if healthy, they can definitely give a run to anybody in the AFC, but that's if healthy. And for the rest of that division, though, I think it's a pretty easy road for them. And obviously, in just the first 3 divisions that we picked in the NF and the AFC specifically, the 3 teams look like they have an easy road to the playoffs, excluding maybe the Chargers with the Chiefs and Raiders, depending on what happens with them in health. So I think I'm going to go with Pittsburgh, but I'm not in love with Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh couldn't be got. And why don't we go ahead and round off the AFC South, and we'll take a quick break as the draft continues. The Houston Texans, the Indianapolis Colts, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Tennessee Titans. Don't speak too fast and have too much coffee, kids. So here's an interesting one. Deshaun Watson coming back from injury. Andrew Luck coming back from injury. Jacksonville coming out of a heartbreaking loss in the AFC Championship game. The Titans, probably the team that's taken the biggest step backwards. No Delaney Walker, at least as of right now. We're seeing what's happening with Deion Lewis. Not exactly the team that lights it up. And we thought Marcus Mariota might be the next coming, that next stage of great young quarterbacks. I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Going to Jacksonville, we know how hard it is and what happens to teams that make it to the AFC, NFC Championship games and to the Super Bowl and don't win. It's hard for them to get back. And there's only so much you could do with Blake Bortles. And you lost Allen Robinson. You lost Allen Hurns. Marquise Lee is hurt. That defense is going to have to carry them, and they have a good enough defense too, obviously. Some of the best players in the league in Jacksonville. With the Colts, Andrew Luck is the X factor in this division, just like any other division when it comes to the quarterback. You have a team with the Indianapolis Colts where if Mac is, and that offensive line, which is the big question, if that offensive line is able to stay upright, keep Andrew Luck upright, able to move the ball down, which for most teams, NFL teams, is the key factor. But for this team specifically, being able to get the ball to T.Y., get the ball down the field, it's a really good chance. That's a dangerous team. And we saw them just a few years ago when Andrew Luck was healthy, what they can do. And in Houston, it's really all about what Hopkins, Fuller, Miller, and obviously Deshaun Watson can do. It's a good enough defense to win any NFL game. But Houston's all about that Deshaun Watson experience. And then for him, it's can he stay healthy when he gets hurt, when he gets hit, that is. And what is hurt, what is injured for him? We don't know. He's obviously one of the best competitors in all of sports because we saw what he did with Clemson. We saw what he did last season in the NFL, one of the toughest dudes. But I definitely think that it's not it's not a foregone conclusion that he's going to take that next step and he's going to be the guy that is a guaranteed Super Bowl winner. I think he's one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL, but there's no guarantees, and we saw how easy it is for him, Carson Wentz, any of these star quarterbacks. One hit changes everything, and it goes back to that conversation we had about Mitchell Trubisky and what the Bears are doing. I mean, it's part of the sport, but if you can prevent it, why not? But that is our AFC North prediction, and when we come back, we'll go ahead and recap our AFC division pick winners. What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another David, the operator, to go out there and excellent skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support. What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another David, the operator, to go out there and excellent skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support. All right, so my plan was to go Marshawn Lynch with this pick, but he went and was taken. So, value-wise, I think we'll go ahead and just go with a wide receiver. And we're going to wait a little bit for a quarterback. And at this pick, I really would like Marquise Goodwin. See how he's going to do with Jimmy Garoppolo. And then, obviously, with Marvin Jones Jr. We'll go with Marvin Jones. I trust Matthew Stafford a little bit. And coming back, why don't we go ahead and clear up just one more running back just to be safe. And I think here I might want to go with Tevin Coleman. Grab a Atlanta Falcon. I think they're going to be good. Go ahead and just grab him up, swoop him up, and come back around. And at this point, once we, at least in my opinion, once you get to this point of the draft, the real thing is to just get as much depth as you can, right? Like, everybody knows that you're not going to get a super. And at this point, once we, at least in my opinion, once you get to change your season to this point of the draft, the real thing is to just get as much depth as you can, right? Like, everybody knows that you're not going to get a super. And at this point, once we, at least in my opinion, once you get to change. There's, you find that you're able to move around the lineup a little bit, but more importantly, you're willing to make moves. And I think that's the one thing that in fantasy football people don't, that they get really shaken as. They fall in love with their players. and they think that they're always going to be one step ahead, that they have, that they have the pulse of it. But the truth to be told, it's just like any other type of gambling or any type of lottery. It's all the luck of the draw. It's all whether or not you're going to be the lucky one whose quarterback gets hot at the right time, whose running backs don't get hurt, whose wide receivers get enough touches. And for all you wondering, this is a PPR league, and it is a 12-man league. We do have a wide receiver, tight end, flex. No keepers in any of our leagues. This is the only league in which we do have a flex player. Before we got out of here for our break, we went through the division. So why don't we go ahead and recap the AFC one more time? We have the New England Patriots coming out of the AFC East. We have the LA Chargers coming out of the AFC West. Out of the AFC North, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. And out of the AFC South, we're going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Very, very fun stuff here. But then I guess we have to pick two wildcard teams. And I guess the real competition comes down to what's going to happen in the AFC West and what's going to happen in the AFC South. And in my opinion, I think if Deshaun Watson stays healthy, the Texans make the playoffs. I think if Andrew Luck stays healthy, the Indianapolis Colts make the playoffs. I think the New England Patriots are going to end up winning 13 games. I think the AFC East is going to struggle. I think obviously the bad teams are going to eat themselves, but I think they're going to struggle really, really, really mightily in that division, and especially in that division. So why don't we go ahead and why don't we take two looks at two NFC divisions, and we'll take a quick break as we get ready for the next draft picks. In the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Giants, the Philadelphia Eagles, and Washington. With the Dallas Cowboys, I guess the thing becomes, can Dak and Zeke lead that team? What are you going to do without Dez Bryant? Who's the guy there besides Zeke? Can that defense win what is such a high-octane type of division with Washington and the Giants in Philadelphia? Speaking of the Giants, a new running back in Barkley. What is going to happen with Eli Manning? Obviously, the times have turned. The team is drifting away from him. So that's going to be one of the biggest questions of the year. The Eagles with an injured Carson Wentz, and it looks like Nick Foles, and with Alshon Jeffrey in the PUP list, winning the Super Bowl comes at a cost. They won it, so at the very least, they cashed in those chips. But we'll see what happens there. And with Washington, Alex Smith, no Kirk Cousins. I mean, we'll see there the way this organization is ran, and with a Gruden there, whether it's enough to turn that club around. And why don't we take a look at the NFC West really fast? Out of the NFC East. You know what? I'm going to go out and say that the Cowboys are going to win that division. I think the Cowboys will win it. I think the Eagles aren't healthy enough. I think the Eagles will struggle after winning that Super Bowl, and you'll see that little lag happen. But I'll go with Dallas in that division. And in the NFC West, the Arizona Cardinals, the LA Rams, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Seattle Seahawks. The 49ers with a nice little end of the season with Jimmy Garoppolo after that trade. The LA Rams coming out of nowhere with Jared Goff and Todd Gurley. Arizona rebuilding, and with now Sam Bradford. Is this Larry Fitzgerald's last year? David Johnson coming back from injury. Seattle, obviously, with Russell Wilson and everything that's happening with that defense. Russell and Richard Sherman leaving. And obviously just the whole dismantlement of the Legion of Boom. So, this one's a toss-up. I think you could go with the Rams. And it goes back to that's probably the team that's going to be the deepest in there. Has the most depth. Russell Wilson's going to have to carry the Seahawks. They don't have a running back. They don't have an offensive line. So we'll see, where it leads to that. But I'll go with the Rams. But San Francisco. A lot of people. I think Habarkish brought this up. A lot of people are very high on the San Francisco 49ers. I get it, but in this league, there's always flashes, right? There's always flashes to the pan of what a good team is and what's a great team in. We'll see, but for now, you know what? I'll go with the LA Rams winning the division. Why don't we go ahead? We're at pick 75. Wakanda's Most Wanted will be up at pick 84. So far on our squad, we have Michael Thomas, Juju Smith-Schuster, Melvin Gordon, LaShawn McCoy, Marvin Jones Jr., and Tevin Coleman. We'll be right back. Follow us anywhere you're on social media. I'm on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us anywhere you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333, or just look us up at Mercado Airwaves. Thank you to all our sponsors at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. And, of course, follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/MikeMercado2333. We're coming up pick 84 for Wakanda's Most Wanted. And I'm looking to do a couple things here. Again, this is definitely going to be a move for depth. Going to look for best available at this point when it comes to each position I'm looking at. And why don't we go ahead and see what we got going. So right now, TMNT, that is our guy Ariel. And he did not go with what we thought he was going to. So we're going to go Ronald Jones II. Right here. And then we're going to go to tight ends. See what's going on over here. Looks like we get pretty much everybody around the same time. So I'm going to go to wide receivers. I like Will Fuller. I like Devin Funchess. I like Sammy Watkins. I like Robert Woods. But let's go to quarterbacks really fast. And here at quarterback, Matthew Stafford, Kirk Cousins, Phillip Rivers. Well, I think none of these guys are going to be here. So why don't we go ahead and we go... Why don't we go Kirk Cousins? And now, at this point of it, we kind of have an idea of how our team is shaping out for all you who are just joining us right now. Our team so far for the Good Brothers here on Mercado Airwaves, this is Wakanda's Most Wanted, Kirk Cousins, Michael Thomas, Juju Smith-Schuster, Melvin Gordon, LaShawn McCoy, Marvin Jones Jr., Tevin Coleman, and Ronald Jones II. Now, coming up, we want to hear from you guys. Who would you have picked when it comes to where, at the very least, where are your draft picks normally at? Where do you like to pick guys at? Where are you a kind of a drafter that gets quarterback early? So I'm one person who never seems to have Aaron Rodgers on my team. And a lot of that's because I don't pick quarterback early. I never have. I understand why a lot of people do, but it's just never been, I feel like quarterbacks are so the quarterbacks, there's such a big gap between them when it comes to like that second to third tier. But between the first and second tier, Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the league, arguably, right? But then you have that tier of Stafford, Cousins, Rivers, Roethlisberger, who are going to win you games, but they're not going to – they're not – those players are within the same group. They're within the same reaching distance of each other. There's not a big, gap of talent between them like there is Aaron Rodgers to, let's say, Mitchell Trubisky. And I've never been one of these guys who I feel like you can only play one quarterback in this league. Unless you're in a 2-quarterback league, I understand then, the significance of it. But you can only play one quarterback in our leagues. And I feel like you need depth because people are going to get hurt. That's what happens in this league. Players get hurt. And you have to prepare for that moment. The good brother and I always argue about handcuffs and how we think they should be used in fantasy football. He doesn't believe in drafting handcuffs. I do. I think it's inevitable that your running back's going to get hurt. It's just that comes with the territory of the game. And if you're not ready for it, what's going to happen then? And if you're at the very least, you're preventing another team from having that opportunity of having a sleeper pick or having a sleeper waiver pick. And that's this part of fantasy football that's so interesting, that's so not understood by a lot of people, just like video games or anything else, where there's strategy. There's it's like chess. It's not just what I'm doing, but what's the other person's doing. How many bye weeks is that guy's best player having? When do those byes fall? For me, I've been very unlucky the last few years where a lot of the teams I've played, a lot of the bye weeks, I've missed their players' bye weeks. And, those are easy wins. Those are wins that get you to the playoffs. And again, to me, this is the type of gamble, this is the type of RPG where you just need to get to the tourney. You just need to get to that moment. You have to have a fighting chance to get there. And if you don't, then that'll be the reason why, if anybody can win the fantasy football playoffs. Anybody. And, it's an argument we've always had of can you be good in fantasy football? I think it was the league that brought this up one time in an episode, but I think you can be good at fantasy football. But it's more about having your fingers on the pulse. It's more about kind of having an idea of how certain teams are tracking, how certain players are tracking, how your opponent is tracking, and then there's some luck with it, just like any other sport where skill is most of it, but there's luck to it. More luck in this one because it's out of your hands. You have to take into consideration stuff we don't hear about. Little nags, little injuries, little personal stuff. So it's all that, and it's all about kind of, I don't think you need it to consume your life. Obviously, if you're one of these sharks or these bookkeepers or somebody who makes a lot of money off of it, sure. And there's a lot of fake money. Yeah, government, if you're listening, fake money that a lot of these leagues have. But, you have to be honest with yourself that a lot of us don't have that time to indulge in all deep into it. But if you keep up enough, maybe listen to a podcast here and there, kind of keep up with Twitter or whatever, you can get there. You can win a championship. Problem is I've never won one. But I don't think it has anything to do with, being bad at fantasy football. It's not paying attention at certain times, not paying attention to the waiver wire, not paying attention where you're at the waiver wire, not paying attention to reports, especially when they have to deal with your team. Picking one day specifically for 10, 15 minutes to just indulge in that, especially if you're making some type of investment in it. And it's always funny to me when it comes to the playing fantasy football, how some people just, how can you play it? How can you take it seriously? Well, it's like anything else. It's the same way as people who keep the cards at baseball games. Same people who go bowling. Same people who gamble. Same people who do anything, who collect. It not only is it a hobby, but it is a mental game. It is an exercise. It is a strategy. It's a big game of war. It's a big game of just, it's so much fun, and it's continuous. It's year long, because even when you're not playing it, you're constantly talking trash to your league. You're constantly getting ready for that next draft. We already have our draft picks for the next draft because you just get that excited for it. You want to have everything just ready, just right for it. And this is the last Thursday we won't have football. So anybody can win the league right now. Anybody can win. And that's what's exciting. Somebody like me, obviously, I have a lot of fun with it, and the prospect of winning fake money is awesome. Government fake money. You also want to win because you invested so much time into it. You also invested so much quote unquote fake money. I mean, no, not quote unquote. No. Government. I forget my way. Guys, we're coming up on pick 108 and 109 of Wakanda's Most Wanted. If you're just joining us, thank you so much for joining us on the first ever live stream of Sports from the Couch. I'm Mike Mercado. If you missed any one of our past episodes of great interviews we do with MMA and UFC superstars, people from Hollywood, authors, great minds, just so many awesome conversations. Check us out anywhere you get your favorite podcasts at Mercado Airwaves. Like us here on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. We're on YouTube. Subscribe to me at Mike Mercado 2333. Or you guys want, just look at Mercado Airwaves and I'll come up with all those awesome videos. We're on Patreon, so a huge thank you to all our sponsors at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. If you or someone you know has an ad or a brand you would like to bring to a huge, diverse group of audience, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We have a tier just for you. And, of course, thank you to everybody who follows us anywhere they get their favorite podcasts, anywhere they listen to us, like on Stitcher, iTunes, Podbean, wherever, Mercado Airwaves. We really appreciate each and every one of you guys. So we'll go ahead and get to pick 108. It looks like they're taking their time. Viewer discretion advised for the smack talk. Let's see what these guys are saying. It looks like everybody's pretty confident. Yeah, so pretty much a lot of trash talk like always. So here we are coming up to it. So my strategy right now, it looks like at this point, we're going to be at pick 108 and pick 109. So I'm probably going to want to go tight end. The good brother has some, good brother Alex has had some favorite players that he really, really liked, and I'm not going to put him right now, and that player was just picked. So it looks like right now we're back at a point where there isn't that big of a difference between Jack Doyle, O.J. Howard, Cameron Braid, and Jordan Cook, Charles Clay. So, and there goes the rush right now. So, you know what? Why don't we take a look at running backs, see what we have here. Let's see what they say about Marlon Mack. So it looks like he might be hurt, so we're going to stay away from him, although it would be more for a stash at this point. Now, wide receiver. Well, here, okay, so at this point, I guess we'll see what happens coming up, but there's some players I like here at wide receiver. Again, it's all about depth, and I think this is something that we take it away from the rest of the league, and we go happy with it, especially since we're pretty heavy on running back, at least at this point. And again, the tight end situation's all pretty much, other than the Cleveland tight end that I knew Good Brother wanted, it just didn't fall our way, so there's no reason to reach for a tight end at this point, at least in my opinion. So we're up right here, and this is exactly what I was talking about. At this point, it looks like I would just go with best available, and I really like Will Fuller, so I'm going to go ahead and pick him. And I like Robert Woods, and I like Jordy Nelson. I guess the point would be I would go with Woods. Right now, it looks like I just like their team a little bit more right now, so I'll go ahead and go with Robert Woods. Why don't we go ahead and take a quick break, guys? I've been rambling on a little while. We've done a bunch of recordings. If you missed it, we actually just released a brand new episode, a mini-sode of the Good Brothers. The Good Brother Alex is on location. That's why you don't hear him right now here on Sports from the Couch. But if you missed it, go ahead into our archives at Mercado Airwaves on Facebook. Check it out. We reviewed Happy Time Murders. We talked about the Cubs getting a brand new network and so much more. So many delays in the DC universe. And Alec Baldwin is out as Thomas Wayne for the new Joker movie. So a lot of stuff happened. I broke it down, gave you guys a little bit of a nugget episode of it. But before we go ahead and get ready for the next draft pick, why don't we take a quick break here on the Mercado Airwaves on the Mercado Airwaves Network. You're with Mike Mercado on Sports from the Couch. Thanks for keeping it with us here on Sports from the Couch here on the Mercado Airwaves Network. We're on the Chicago finest B-League draft. It is a fun time as the debut of the brand new series, a reboot of our sports show. And it just so happens to be falling on one of our favorite people's birthday. This little dude has literally been one of the greatest things that's ever happened to so many people that at least, I know. And some people may call him a little bit of a jerk, a little bit of a diva, right? But not me. I don't think so. See, I think he's the greatest thing that's ever happened to us. I, of course, am talking about Carmelo William Rodriguez, my little dude whose birthday is today. He should be getting ready to bed because I'm pretty sure they have school tomorrow. But, knowing that he is a Rodriguez boy, that is the last thing that he is doing. He's probably climbing on some walls. A shout out to his parents, Louis Rodriguez, Kelsey Bertange, who have done such an amazing job raising such a wonderful, sweetheart of a boy. He is so smart, way smarter than any of us. Smarter than any of us have any business being. And, I don't know how so many of us ended up being so lucky having such a little kind-hearted dude in our life. And, words can't even describe how proud I am of this little dude. Seeing him grow, seeing him just really, become a little man. And, even when he has his little attitudes with his daddy and his mommy and, with this deal, he always, comes around at the end and is always just the best. And, he has a great family, a great support group around him. So, to the little guy who's hopefully listening after school tomorrow, but if he's listening right now, because, he's one of us, love you, little man. Please, whenever you get a chance, thank your parents, because Lewis and Kelsey are a great example, and so many of my friends, but Lewis and Kelsey are a great example of, working together and doing your best and raising what is such a little special guy. And I am so excited and so honored to see how you grow and the man that you become. So shout out to Carmelo, shout out to Lewis, shout out to Kelsey. Love you guys. We have more here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I want to draft. What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Jamila David, the operator, to go out there and test my skill.
To award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support. You can follow us anywhere you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. I'm on Twitter at mmercado2333. Follow me on Instagram, instagram.com/MikeMercado2333. And of course, shout out to all our Patreons and supporters at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Again, shout out to the birthday man, Carmelo. Love you, buddy. Why don't we go ahead and keep going with this draft? It's time for us to come up. And the real question is, where do we go here at pick 132? I think it's, I'm going to go running back here because at this point there is a lot of hot garbage underneath it. So let's get a quarterback that we can count on at the very least. Let's go Dak Prescott. Now here at this point, I'm really just looking to fill out the rest of the lineup. And now we're at a point where I'm comfortable going with the tight end. And I think Cameron Brate or Charles Clay, who do you trust more? I mean, none of them. Honestly, but if I have to pick, I guess, Eric Ebron in Indianapolis looks kind of nice just because of Andrew Luck. So why don't we go with him? Just fill it out. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Thursday night. I appreciate each and every one of you guys being with us. I know it's always crazy. Getting ready for a Labor Day weekend, guys. Can you believe it's already Labor Day? Unbelievable. Hopefully each and every one of you that is heading out this holiday weekend, you guys are all safe. Please, safe travels. Don't drink and drive. Take care of each other and enjoy the good times. And a shout out to Kelsey and Lewis who are checking us out right now. Shout out to Nicole Mancho who's going to be doing a brand new show, guys. So that's a tease that you only heard if you're checking us out at the live stream. Like us at Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Shout out to each and every one of you guys for always being so supportive and part of what we do here. I think this is a good time since we are at pick 135 and the Wakanda's Most Wanted doesn't get a pick until pick 156. We're deep into this podcast. We're already an hour and 4 minutes into our first ever Sports from the Couch. This is not how every episode's going to be, obviously. This is more something to check out the streaming devices that we have here at Mercado Airwaves to see how it comes out to each and every one of you guys. And this is just something cool I wanted to do, be the first episode, something I'm comfortable with doing, a little bit different than what I'm used to doing, but this will be our sports show that we talk and we're able to just digest everything that's happening there. Of course, if you're new to us at Mercado Airwaves, we have a show called The Good Brothers. This show is hosted by my brother, the good brother himself, Alex Mercado, and I'm on the show as well, I guess, or whatever. I mean, that's what people say. But this show is all about everything in the movie news, TV news, when it comes to music and anything pop culture, anything that really hits the zeitgeist of the universe, we break down there. Movie reviews, video game playthroughs are coming soon too on twitch.com/Mercado Airwaves. We're very excited about that as soon as Spider-Man for PS4 comes out. So that's something anybody who's a gamer in your family who likes podcasts, check them out, send them our way to see what we have going there. We have a show called Murder, Mysteries, and More. This one's for adult content for all you adults who love true crime or anything that has to do with that macabre kind of world. Definitely check that out. We have a very cool archives anywhere you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. And we have an episode coming to you tomorrow evening or tomorrow afternoon, depending on how we feel and if you guys have been good girls or bad boys. But the thing is, that show is really fun because we get to explore a world that we never normally do, and we get to be silly and we get to just talk. And it's hosted by Nicole Mancha, the lovely Nicole Mancha, who has another show coming on the network very soon. And Alex Mercado, the good brother himself, is on that show, as me myself as well. And it's a really passion project that has really taken off between us three, and it's really helped the network really gain some traction. So check that out. That's Murder Mysteries and More. There's actually an Instagram for that channel. It's Murder Mysteries and More on Instagram. And it's probably the premiere show here on the Mercado Airwaves Network. We interview some amazing guests. If you are into MMA and the UFC, please check out the archives. We have interviewed literally some of the most legendary fighters that have ever graced an octagon or cage. We're talking about UFC heavyweight champions, women champions, and everything in between. It is something I'm so proud of that I feel like the work speaks for itself. So please check that out, guys. And I promise you, we have more cool things to come when it comes to that as well. We have Outreach Radio Chicago. Now, this show is something that really got me into, put my foot into the door into this. This is a community outreach show in which we've talked to everybody from, the Able Gamers to Paul Chicago. We've talked to Slingshot. We've talked to the V Foundation. And it's something, again, that I'm very proud of. And it airs on WSBC 1240 AM Chicago, Friday nights at 9 p.m. At 8 p.m. now is the new start time of Outreach Radio Chicago on WSBC, 1240 a.m. for anybody in Chicago. And then throughout the weekend and week on WNDZ, 750 a.m., Portage, Indiana, and Chicago, as well as WAIT, 850 a.m., Crystal Lake, Chicago. So very proud of that. And, of course, that's in the archives as well, except for Season 2, which is currently where we're at right now. We're about 13 episodes deep into Season 2, and we have about 7 more, a little bit more than that. And once the Season 2 of Outreach Radio Chicago is done, it will be available to each and every one of you. So that is something to, if you're interested in things that happen around your community, that is something to be excited about. And, it's a lot. Like, we do a lot here, and we have a lot more planned, and we do it because we really enjoy it. And the stuff Nicole's working on, not just on the podcast, but the stuff that she's working on in general is awesome. I mean, I can't speak about it enough. It's phenomenal. Very proud of what she's doing and how hard she's working at it. So that's something to keep your eyes on. You can follow her at typing when tipsy everywhere in social media. So please check her out on that and keep your eyes on that girl. She's gonna do some great stuff. Alex is just getting his really hitting his stride as a host. And I'm very proud to see his hard work that's come through and his passion for this. So I'm very excited to see how we grow the Good Brothers as well. So yeah, I'm loving everything we're doing here on the network. It's a lot of fun. It's hard work. A lot of people always ask whether or not it's what do we get out of it? And fiscally it's it is what it is. But creatively, emotionally, it's what I love. It's my passion, and it's something that you're so lucky if you get to do something you love for a living, right? But not just that, you're lucky if your platform is something that a lot of people don't get to experience and enjoy, and I don't take that for granted. For however long I have it, I don't take that for granted, and that's why I want to produce so much content. I'm one of these people who would love to leave a lot behind, and that's including what we're doing here on the network. So that's why you're seeing a lot of things come out. You're seeing a lot of faces, a lot of new voices come out, and a lot of different experiments. And it does make you very vulnerable. I think that's something that goes unsaid when you do these things. Like, yeah, I'm confident because I've been doing this since I was 22, 21. And I got my full-time job in a radio station at 24 years old, full-time. Only been working there for about a year. So, this is just work. This is everyday stuff. But, it's very exciting sometimes. And sometimes you forget that. And, so it's something that, I never want to get lost. And that's why I love doing stuff like this. And I love when each and every one of you guys joins us. So as we're starting to round off this draft, why don't we go ahead and for anybody just joining us on the very first episode of Sports from the Couch with Mike Mercado on Mercado Airwaves, working on the title, guys, give me a break, and it's late at night. We have Kirk Cousin, Michael Thomas, Juju Smith-Schuster, Melvin Gordon, LaShawn McCoy, Eric Ebram, Marvin Jones Jr., Tevin Coleman, Ronald Jones II, Will Fuller, Robert Woods, and Dak Prescott. So the real question becomes, where do we go to next? Why don't we check it out? And anybody who's just joining us, please leave a thank you. Not so much a thank you. I guess a thank you for being such a cool dude. And a happy birthday to Carmelo on his big day. Love you, big guy. Here you go, coming up to it. Looks like some guys are already on auto draft, which I don't blame them. But we're on round 13, pick 8, coming up here in Chicago Finest B-League Draft. I hope each and every one of you guys has a wonderful Labor Day weekend. If you're just joining us, please be careful. Don't drink and drive. Enjoy with your friends and family or by yourself. And if you're working, make that hustle. I will actually be working on Labor Day. We have a few more episodes of Outreach Radio Chicago we need to record and edit down. And, quite honestly, I like the money. And if you like the money and you like what you're doing, it's not a bad option to do. You get home and go barbecue. For all you wondering, a lot of people always ask me, I guess this is a great time to just kind of get to know me a little bit. I work the very early morning shift. I work the morning shift. For all you who are here in the Chicago, I work the Molly and Hanley time slot shift, apparently. Usually I get off around anywhere between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m., so my days can be about 8.5 to 10-hour work days, which, really isn't that bad. And like I said, when you love what you do, I never really feel like I've worked a long day. There's some days where there's a lot of editing, a lot of clients. Like my daytime job is, we have clients too that are brokered. So they buy certain time slots so that they can be on the air. And whether they're for example, we have some Assyrian church shows that take up 5 hours on a Saturday. Or we have, a Puerto Rican neighborhood community time slot for a bunch of different shows. And, it's basically like that for all the different stations. So, my day consists of random days. And then obviously we try to get in our recordings of Outreach Radio Chicago. We try to get our interviews in. And we do a lot of work here at the actual home-based studio, the Tyson and Mowgli studio here at Mercado Airwaves. But, it's really interesting. And if you follow us on Instagram at Mike Mercado2333, take a lot of pictures of stuff that are in the new studio and stuff that's at the station down in Chicago. So keep your eyes on that and let us know what you think. It's coming up here in Chicago. Thank you again to anybody who's taking the time to support us here at Mercado Airwaves. We really appreciate it. For spending so much of your Thursday night with us, even if it was just for a few minutes, we really appreciate it. This is the first time we've ever done a live stream like this here on the network. And Sports from the Couch, like I said, if you missed it, if you missed this when this whole thing comes up, it's kind of a few minutes ago. But basically, we just, we really love all the content we're producing, and this one in particular is something we're really excited to get off the ground. And here, I guess we would go with more best available. Let's go and see what's going on with defense really fast, because sometimes at this point there might be somebody we like. I really don't like anybody here, but I know a lot of the guys here. I'll go with New England just because their division is bad, like we said earlier when we were making picks. And you know what? That reminds me, we have to go back and finish off our division picks. We'll do right after this pick right here. Why don't we go to all players? Why don't we see what we have here? Houston was still available. I messed up at that one, but that's okay. So we'll go back and let me check what's at wide receivers really fast. And if there's nobody we like there, I like Josh Doxson, to be honest with you. So, we're going to go Josh Doxson. All right, so before we wrap things up, why don't we check the last bit of the two divisions that we left off, and we'll hit a quick break and come back for the last few picks. And we left off in the NFC. If you missed out earlier on in the stream, we have the LA Rams and the Dallas Cowboys coming out of the East, and
the West. In the NFC South, the toughest division in all of football, the Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers are the worst team in that division. Obviously, I think whatever's going on with Jameis Winston's hurting that team. There's not much to say about him. Mike Evans is a stud. New Orleans, it's all about Drew Brees, isn't it? They have a great wide receiver in Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. You're missing Mark Ingram for the first 4 games of the season. If I'm picking this division with Carolina, with Christian McCaffrey, with Cam Newton, with that defense, and then Atlanta. Honestly, I think I'm trying to stall time because I think the Atlanta Falcons win this division pretty hands down. But it seems nationally a lot of people like Carolina and New Orleans, and I see why. There's obviously a lot of talent in both teams. But I think this is that bounce back year. You had the disappointment of last year, but think about how close the Atlanta Falcons were to eliminating Philadelphia. So it's not like they're that far away from it. I think Atlanta is actually going to go to the Super Bowl this year, but we'll get to that on later episodes of Sports from the Couch here on the Mercado Airwaves Network. And in the NFC North, the beloved Bears, the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, and the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings, with Kirk Cousins, a healthy Dalvin Cook, we'll see. Best defense in the NFC. I think it comes down to Atlanta, Minnesota. I can see why you can easily convince me of it being Minnesota. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers getting his new deal. Again, not having Jordy Nelson, spending all that money on Jimmy Graham. I'm not quite sure what's going on up there. And unless they get Khalil Mack, I'm not really impressed with the defense either. I like Detroit. Matthew Stafford, Marvin Jones, Golden Tate, LeGarrette Blount. They have a nice little team there. But I think the Vikings are hands down the best team in that division. And the Bears, let's go ahead. Let's go. We'll break it down. I don't want to spend every ammunition I have on the Bears on the first episode of Sports from the Couch, but the Bears have made improvements. I like what Matt Nagy's going to do. I like Allen Robinson. I like Jordan Howard. I like Tariq Cohen. I like Tyler Gabriel. I like Anthony Miller. I like Trey Burton. I like that defense a lot. Top 10 defense in the NFL. If Mitchell Trubisky isn't elite, special, great, doesn't mean anything. It's quarterback league. Bears have never had a great quarterback. The greatest quarterback they've ever had is Jay Cutler. Modern day quarterback, I should say. We'll find out. They have a nice little team. The offensive line's a little suspect. But they have pieces there, and I see why people are excited. But I'll be honest with you. I'm not in love with Trubisky. I love Deshaun Watson. I thought that should have been, and I think they got plain old screwed with that deal with San Francisco, moving up 1 draft pick. But it is what it is, and this is the team they have. So to me, I think that division pretty much comes down easily, and it's Minnesota's division. And that's our division picks here on Sports from the Couch on our very first episode / live stream of the Chicago Finance B League. We'll break it down for you one last time. In the AFC, we have the New England Patriots coming out. In the AFC West, we have the LA Chargers. In the AFC North, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. In the AFC South, we have the Indianapolis Colts. And the 2 wildcard teams will be the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. In the NFC East, we have the Dallas Cowboys coming out. We have the NFC West champions being the LA Rams. In the NFC South, we have the Atlanta Falcons. And in the NFC North, we have the Chicago Bears with the Carolina Panthers and the New Orleans Saints winning the wildcard games. Wildcard spots, that is. And those are our picks of the NFL standings. Coming up on our pick, we are coming up on pick 180 and 181, rounding off Chicago Finance B League Draft. Thank you so much for being a part of this. The episodes are going to be a lot shorter, guys. They're going to be much more sports talk, but thank you for being part of this experiment that we're doing here on Facebook Live at Mercado Airwaves. Follow me on Twitter at mmercado2333. I'm on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. And download us anywhere you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. We have a lot more to finish up here on the draft, here on Mercado Airwaves Network's Sports from the Couch.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another David, the operator, to go out there and excellent skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support. All right, we have a special guest to finish off the last few picks of Chicago Finest B-League Drip here on Sports from the Couch on Mercado Airwaves. Thank you so much for being part of this inaugural reboot episode. Of course, it will be a standard show, but we will be doing cool stuff like this, including a draft every year. Joining us in the studios, the mascot himself, Mowgli, and the host of Murder Mysteries and More, and something special coming in the network. It's Nicole Mancha. Nicole, thank you for joining us on this live stream.
Thank you for allowing me into the man cave during this time.
Yes, the office studio becomes a man cave for just a little bit, but it is finishing off because we have something fun in line for the folks. So why don't we give them a little bit of a teaser of what's going to come when it comes to this new show that we have coming for you? Did you decide to call it? And why don't we go ahead and give them a little bit of a
little bit behind the curtain.
Yeah, so I think the discussion was that we were going to call it Typing When Tipsy. It's my handle on pretty much everything, and it kind of came to me, not shockingly, when I was having some mimosas and writing one morning.
Like all great things in life, yeah.
That's how I want to spend every day of my life.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of came with that, and then we had talked about it a little bit, and we had kind of started the pizza night, and we just got really busy and things kind of happened, but we wanted to reboot and revamp and kind of see what would happen with other things. So we decided to create this show, and it's kind of, what did you call it, an audio editorial?
Yeah, audio editorial, some of the old ones we called it.
So a little bit of my writing, a little bit of life, and kind of bringing on friends. Some of them know, some of them don't, so you'll be surprised next time you come to dinner. But, you know, talking about different things in life, different things that we're doing. I think we're at a really cool age right now where so many different things are happening for so many of us, because half of us are having babies and half of us are getting married, and then there's pieces of us also who are just kind of figuring out what we want to do and where we want to go. And, you know, there are different priorities, and none of them are necessarily better than others, but I think that it's cool to see how we've all gotten there.
Very nice. Yeah, so some exciting stuff, like I told you all earlier on in the podcast for Nicole. Nicole, do you play fantasy football?
No.
Do you know anything about football?
A little bit.
Yes, you do, because that's for me. So,
because I live with you.
Yeah. It is pick 176. I am pick 180. It is coming up right now. It looks like the people who are in auto draft are finally starting to move on a little bit faster. I am coming up right now. Nicole, we're going to go kicker. I'm going to give you 3 choices. Okay? Well, let's see, because auto pick might be picking them for the players. Just give them 1 second. We'll see how well Nicole, or what she wants to do. Nicole, between Dan Bailey, Chris Boswell, or Robbie Gold, who do Wakanda's Most Wanted choose as their kicker?
Who's the tallest? Do we know?
We do not know, Nicole.
Let's go with the middle guy.
Dan Bailey of Dallas?
No, that was Chris that you said the second one. Chris.
There's Chris Boswell.
Chris Boswell, that guy. Let's go with him.
Chris Boswell of Pittsburgh. Okay,
Yes.
We will see if he falls to us in one pick. 1 minute left in the draft. So what sport do you like watching?
I actually enjoy watching baseball, but I prefer to be at the game.
Yeah.
So I think, like, I've never been really a...
And that is our pick right there. And Chris Boswell is off the board. So Dan Bailey, Robbie Gold, Mason Crosby.
Mason Crosby.
Of course, you would pick a Packer.
I like his name.
Mason Crosby is off the board. And now with pick 181, we go ahead and look for some depth for us here. So good brother Alex always likes to go best available. And right now it looks like we have 2 quarterbacks in Blake Bortles and Case Keenum. We don't need a quarterback. We have ASJ from Jacksonville. Jameis Winston, Jordan Wilkins. See, here's somebody I want to go with. I'm going to go with Jordan Wilkins just because of what might be happening with Marlon Mack. So why don't we go with him? All right, Nicole. And we're going to come up to the very last pick of the draft, which will be pick 204. So that is going to wrap us up on our first episode of Sports from the Couch in just a little bit. But, Nicole, why don't you give the lovely audience who is still with us live here on Facebook Live with what the next episode of Murder, Mysteries, and More is going to be. Alex is at assignment right now, so it's just you and I steering the ship. What do we have down the chamber?
So I decided that I wanted to do something a little bit different from what we've been doing, and I decided to do a cold case. So an unsolved mystery, mystery and the murder of Tammy Zawicki. It's a fascinating case because it seems so cut and dry, but it just looks like poor work that was done, and kind of it being 1992. And people not really knowing or having necessarily, they didn't have cameras, they didn't have cell phones that were easily accessible and all these things. So the reason that this one was so interesting to me and the reason I wanted to do it is because we actually, a week ago today, we passed the 26th anniversary of the cold case.
Ooh, okay. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So it should be a very, very interesting episode of that. I'm excited, Nicole. We have a lot of really cool stuff coming on into the network. I was telling the stream earlier that you're in the midst of editing draft 1 of the book. How is that going?
It's going great. My best friend, who does not have Facebook, so she won't hear this, she actually did me a huge solid and read the first rough draft, and it is a very rough draft, as most writers know. And she just sat down with me and we kind of went over the things that need to happen and what we need to change. And I think that just having those sounding boards are so important in any kind of creative field. So she really helped me kind of figure out what I want to do and change some things. And I think we made some of the characters a lot stronger and some of the things going on a lot stronger. So I'm hoping that by our anniversary that it will be at least in the 3rd draft stage, getting polished and almost ready to publish.
And how long do you think it takes to that first kind of time around doing a draft and doing an edit? And is that the longest part, or is this just the beginning of long parts?
This is just the beginning of long parts. I mean, shopping it around is really what's so hard, especially because everybody can publish now. It's so easy. There's someone that I work with who published a book on his own, and it's, he said it himself. He hasn't really sold a bunch, and it's a really short book, but it's so easy to do at this point that really, if you want it done in a way that it's going to be marketed the way you want it, you kind of do need to edit and send it around and get an agent to kind of work with you. And I think that's going to be the most difficult part. This is the first book I've ever actually finished. Because I think of that fear that a lot of us have is if you finish, you have to actually do something with it. So this is the beginning, but for me, it was kind of a very, I guess, perfect ending for me in that sense, that I felt like I've actually finished something.
When do you think what do you come up with first? Did you come up with the ending first? Do you come up with the premise first? Like, what is the process of the story?
So for a lot of my stories, it was just kind of an idea that kind of blossomed into something. This actually came about because I started a new job, and when I would have my lunches or my breaks, I would write, and I didn't want anything as serious as what I've been working on, especially for my MFA. So I wanted something kind of lighthearted and fun, and it just became this entire story that I wasn't even expecting to create. So while I have ones that, are very near and dear to me, this one was, but in a different way, because it was something I wasn't trying to necessarily finish. It was just something I was working on, because I think that you need to keep working in some capacity in order to not have that writer's block.
And what is like one of your things that you get through writer's block? Like, what is one trick that you enjoy doing?
For writing, I mean, I think it's kind of what I tell my kids, like when I do the workshop. Writing pulls at this little thread that's inside of you when you can't necessarily express to other people. I know that I'm a very vocal person, but there are things that it's hard for me to talk about and it's hard for me to express. And I think writing is such a wonderful way to pull that out of you and then also be able to live these lives you'd never get a chance to live. There's a reason I do a lot of speculative fiction, like fantasy fiction kind of thing. It's because the idea of knowing that something could be happening around you without you noticing it and right under your nose is kind of fascinating and fantasy, like, you know what I mean? There's something there that you don't always get.
When do you think you'll be done?
My hope is that by my birthday next year, so by my 30th, that I will have an agent who's trying to work with me to move forward, because again, this is an entirely long process. And I'm hoping that by that time, because really my goal is to not have to do it myself. It's to have an agent that's working with me. Because I just think you're able to get to a lot of different platforms. While I could do it myself, and if I had to, I would, I think that having that goal is kind of important to move forward. And also to, if I want to keep writing, to do that and have that person there and kind of rallying in my corner. So hopefully by my 30th it will be a book.
That's awesome. Well, we are super proud and excited about that. And we are super excited for what we have down the pipeline here at Sports from the Couch on Mercado Airwaves. Thank you so much for making us a part of your evening and night. And that'll do it for the draft, guys. Really fast, why don't we go through it position by position? It was a very fun draft, a long one. It took a little longer than I thought it was going to. So thank you so much for bearing with us. Here is the rundown of our roster. Kirk Cousins, Michael Thomas, Juju Smith-Schuster, Melvin Gordon, LaShawn McCoy, Eric Ebron, Marvin Jones Jr., Mason Crosby, the New England defense, Tevin Coleman, Ronald Jones II, Will Fuller, Robert Woods, Dak Prescott, Josh Dotson, Jordan Wilkins, and LeGarrette Blount. Super excited about that, and super excited for everything that is going to be down the road. Thank you, Nicole. We have some work we have to do. We have some episodes we have coming down the pipeline. So please follow me everywhere on social media. I'm on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. We're on Instagram, instagram.com/MikeMercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Download us anywhere you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. Huge shout out to our sponsors at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. And, of course, subscribe to us, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333, or just search us at Mercado Airwaves. Thank you, each and every one of you, for making us a part of your night. Thank you for joining us on the reboot episode of Sports from the Couch here on the Mercado Airwaves Network. You can see all our draft results anywhere on social media, and we will see you on the next one with all the great sports nuggets that we can give you here on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado. You've been with us here on Sports from the Couch.